Welcome back to You Talk. We listen where your news turns into knowledge.
That's right.
And we're coming to you from St. Louis, thanks to the OtisWho network.
That's us.
You know, today we are diving deep into a story that really seemed to catch your attention.
Oh, yeah. This one's been all over.
An incident at a Maryland elementary school.
Yeah.
2 students involved, and 2 very, very different stories about what happened.
Right?
So our goal today
Yeah.
is to kind of get past those initial headlines
Get to the bottom of it.
and see what we can really figure out from all the information
Exactly. It's,
that we have.
especially these days, it's so easy for narratives to take off before we even have all the facts.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's start with what really seemed to grab everyone's attention, that mother's post on social media.
Okay.
Her son was a 2nd grader at C. Paul Barnhart Elementary School, and he was found unconscious in the boys' bathroom.
Oh, wow.
And in her post, she claims that a 4th grader hung him
Hung him.
using the hook on the stall door.
Oh, my gosh.
And then she included a picture of her son in the hospital in a neck brace.
I can see why people are upset.
It's understandable why this story is getting so much attention.
Yeah, absolutely. That image is powerful and her account is just heartbreaking.
Right.
But that's why we're doing this deep dive. We got to look at all sides of this,
Right.
not just the first thing we see.
Exactly. And that brings us to what the school had to say.
Okay.
Principal Burke put out a statement
Yeah.
confirming that something did happen. But he said because of privacy concerns, he couldn't give us any details.
Right, right.
What we do know is that the initial 911 call said it might have been a suicide attempt.
Oh, wow.
But the principal says that's not accurate.
Okay.
And that was just based on online speculation.
Speculation.
Burke emphasized how much the school cares about student safety and, giving accurate information.
Sure.
But the way they describe it is really different.
Different how?
They're calling it horseplay.
Horseplay.
Not something intentional. So you've got this gap between those 2 versions.
That's what's interesting.
On one side, you have this mom, and she's obviously emotional,
Of course.
talking about something that seems really deliberate and dangerous.
Right.
And then you have the school, and the words they're using make it sound like an accident.
Like it's not that big a deal.
Almost like they're downplaying it.
Yeah, and that lack of clarity just makes people speculate even more.
And not trust what they're saying.
Exactly.
It really makes you wonder about some things.
Like what?
How does a 2nd grader's jacket get up on a hook?
Good point.
That's probably too high for him to reach. And then the school apologized for taking a while to communicate. What were they doing?
Gathering information.
Yeah, were they trying to manage the situation?
Yeah, it really makes you think.
It does.
It shows just how difficult it is for schools in these situations.
Right.
I mean, they have to protect the students' privacy.
Yeah.
But people want to know what's going on, especially in the community.
They have a right to know.
Yeah, and social media makes it even harder
Oh, definitely.
for everyone.
Speaking of social media,
Yeah.
there are some strong opinions in those comments.
I bet.
People don't believe it was just horseplay,
Yeah.
and they want someone to be held responsible.
Who do they think should be held responsible?
The school
Okay.
and the 4th graders' parents,
I understand that.
it's normal to want that.
Yeah.
But we have to remember,
What's that?
we're only getting bits and pieces of information here.
Right. We're not getting the full picture.
We haven't heard from the kids who were there
Sure.
or anyone who saw it happen.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen any results from any investigations.
So it's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing.
Exactly.
We can't jump to conclusions.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have all the information yet.
It's important to remember that.
It could do more harm than good. This whole thing just makes you think about how vulnerable schools are.
In what way?
I mean, think about it in the past. Schools could control what information got out.
Right.
They'd have time to figure things out, get all the facts, and then tell everyone what they found.
But now, with social media.
Everything's instant.
Yeah.
A parent can put up a post that's really emotional,
Right.
and it goes viral
Mm-hmm.
before the school can even respond.
Right.
And then they're stuck trying to catch up,
Right.
trying to manage something that's already out of control.
And when they try to get ahead of it,
Yeah,
to control the narrative,
it usually doesn't work.
yeah, it makes them seem like they're hiding something.
Right, or like they're not being honest.
It's a lose-lose situation.
Totally damned if you do, damned if you don't.
If they don't say anything, people accuse them of a cover-up.
Right.
But if they speak up too soon,
They might spread misinformation.
so what can they do?
That's the big question.
How can schools handle this when everyone's so anxious and communication is so instant?
Well, one thing they could try is to be more proactive.
What do you mean?
Don't wait for something to happen.
Yep.
Talk to parents regularly about safety protocols and
Mhm.
about how committed they are to transparency and what they'll do if something does happen.
So build trust
Exactly.
by being partners with parents.
Yeah, when parents feel included and like they know what's going on,
They'll be less likely to jump to conclusions.
and they won't rely on social media so much.
But social media is still a problem,
Oh, absolutely.
even with good communication.
Yeah.
How do we stop misinformation from spreading when everyone can share anything?
We need to teach people how to think critically
About
everything, how to evaluate sources and recognize bias
Mhm.
and know the difference between facts and opinions.
That's so important today
More than ever.
because those algorithms show us what we want to see.
Yeah, and it just reinforces what we already believe, even if it's not true.
It's hard to avoid that.
It is, but we can do it.
How?
There are things out there, tools and resources.
To help us figure out what's real.
Exactly. It starts with knowing that not everything online is true.
Right.
Just because someone you know shares it doesn't mean it's a fact.
And sometimes the best thing to do is not share something.
Especially in situations like this,
Yeah.
where we don't have the full story yet.
We should think before we hit share.
Absolutely. Ask yourself if you're making things better or worse.
That's a good point.
It's a powerful step we can all take.
This case really shows how hard it is to find the truth online.
It does.
It shows how important it is to talk to each other.
To be open to different perspectives.
And to remember that real people are affected by these stories.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
You know, behind every headline, there are real people going through something difficult.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting to think if this had happened a few years ago,
Yeah.
before social media was everywhere,
Yeah.
this whole thing might have played out differently.
Oh, absolutely. Without those instant updates and everyone's opinions flying around.
The school would have had time to investigate,
Mm-hmm.
talk to the students, and then make a statement.
Yeah. They could have controlled the story more.
Well, wouldn't that have looked bad too?
Well, yeah, if they wait too long to say anything.
Right. People might think they're not being transparent.
Exactly.
But wouldn't that be better
Mhm.
than all this misinformation spreading?
It's tough, you know?
Yeah.
On the one hand, people deserve to know what's going on in their schools.
Especially when it's about kids' safety.
Exactly. But making judgments before we have all the facts,
That doesn't help anyone.
it really doesn't.
And let's be real, sometimes those social media posts,
Yeah,
even when they're coming from a good place,
Right.
they can make things seem worse than they are.
absolutely. It's natural to react emotionally, especially when it's your own kid.
Of course.
But all those feelings get amplified online. And sometimes it just makes it harder to see the truth.
So if we want schools to be transparent,
Mm-hmm.
but also accurate,
Yeah.
what can they actually do?
I think the key is communication
Okay.
and not just reacting after something happens.
Right.
They need to have clear ways of talking to parents and the community about safety procedures, about being transparent,
Right, about-
how they handle these situations.
So basically build trust.
Exactly. Make parents feel like they're part of the process.
Yeah, so they're not freaking out.
And going straight to social media.
But even then, we still have to teach people how to handle all this information online.
Oh, yeah, that's where media literacy comes in.
Like how to tell if something's real or not.
Exactly how to evaluate sources, recognize bias, and tell the difference between a fact and an opinion.
That's so important these days.
It is, because anyone can post anything.
Right.
And those algorithms just show us what gets the most attention.
Not necessarily what's true.
Nope, not always.
It's a lot to ask,
It is.
but it feels really important.
It is, especially when things like this happen.
It's everyone's responsibility.
Yeah.
Schools, parents, everyone.
We all have a part to play.
Well, this has given us a lot to think about.
It really has.
It reminds us that we need to keep talking about this.
Online and offline.
Yeah. How to keep kids safe at school while also dealing with all the challenges of the internet.
Well said.
Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive.
It was a good one.
Thanks for listening to You Talk. We listen.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
We hope you keep thinking about these issues.
And share your thoughts.
And until next time, stay curious.
And stay informed.
We'll see you then, Yen.